I mean, he comes with a lot, Draymond, obviously. How necessary do you view him having to come back for this team to remain in title contention?
Draymond's not back. We're not a championship contender. We know that.
Well, the Golden State Warriors knew exactly what they had to do, and they did it. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. Forget about everything else for a second. With those three back again, the Golden State Warriors are championship contenders yet again. It's just that simple. You don't believe me? Do I need to remind you that they won an NBA championship only 1 year ago? Or how about the fact their starting lineup had the best net rating in the NBA this season before then following it up with the second best starting lineup in the postseason? Yeah, they're still pretty good. But before we talk about the Golden State Warriors as a whole, and why they should still be considered contenders, we need to talk about Draymond Green. Yeah, it's easy to look at his box score numbers and question his impact. People have been doing that his whole career. But all I ask is one thing from those people. Just simply watch him play basketball. That's literally all you have to do to understand this is one of the greatest defensive players in NBA history. I mean, who else is doing things like this?
Morant, blocked by Green. Yeah, Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph. This time Draymond says no.
But those plays aren't even the best part of Dre's defense. It's his ability to defend multiple different plays in the same possession. Watch this. Dre helps over to force LaVine out of bounds. LaVine does a good job to avoid the turnover, and the Bulls move the ball perfectly around, but Draymond somehow manages to make every read before getting out and blocking Caruso. Or how about on this play, where he initially blocks the driving lane for J-Dub. He then switches out to Dort, pokes it away from him, and he's not done there. He has one eye on Dort, but the second Shea beats GP2, Dre is there to deter him before deterring Wiggins at the rim after that. If that sounds like a lot, it's because no one else is doing that. No one else is switching 4 times in the same possession and deterring 3 different shots. That's Draymond Green. But it's not just defensively where his IQ is on display. Offensively, Draymond Green and Steph Curry have a telepathic connection. They might not be as potent as Murray and Jokic because Draymond isn't a great scorer, but as far as knowing where each other are, they might be the best ever. I'm not exaggerating. When you consider the amount of off-ball movement that Steph does to beat his defender, it's not exactly easy for Draymond to know where he's going to be at all times, but still, he seems to know exactly where he is without even looking. And well, Steph does the rest. And it's more than just his connection when finding Steph, it's also what he does to alleviate pressure from Steph. Take this play for instance. Steph comes off a screen and the defense traps him, so he makes a great pass to Dre, who makes another great pass to Wiggs. We've seen this so often, and Steph is so good that teams still trap him, but if it weren't for Dre, and sometimes Loon as well, the Warriors wouldn't be able to capitalize on these 4-on-3 situations nearly as much. And that right here is the reason the Dubs are still championship contenders. Well, it's Stephen Curry. Have we all forgotten what he did in the first round against the Kings? Do I need to remind you? 34, 5, and 5 on great efficiency, and he was a positive in 6 of the 7 games. A 7-game series that was considered an epic, where one starter who played 40 minutes was a plus 58. That says it all. And who can forget the 50-point game, which was one of the greatest closeout games in playoff history. Even against the Lakers, in a series where he had no offensive help playing against an elite defense, he still put up 27 and 8. And that felt like a disappointing series. It's because of this man that the Warriors needed to make the decisions they have made, which includes re-signing Draymond, trading for CP3, and also bringing back GP2 at the end of last year, who I think might have slipped under the radar as a move that should be huge for the Dubs starting next year. Let's go back to last year. If you remember, prior to Dre getting injured, the Dubs didn't just have a good defense, they had an all-time great defense, and that was because of Draymond, along with Wiggs, and GP2. In fact, if you look at the numbers, with one of Draymond or GP2 on the floor, the Dubs were the best defense in the league. And when they were both on the floor, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. In addition to his lockdown defense, GP2 adds a different dimension to this Dubs team offensively. Not only does he have my favorite poster dunk of the last decade.
Oh, Gary Payton with the flush. Goes right at Bane.
But think back to what he did against the Lakers. With LA trapping Steph on every possession, 30 feet from the basket, the Dubs used GP2 as the little big man that he is. And because of his agility plus finishing ability, he was able to get in behind the Lakers defense and finish in ways that Loon or Dre couldn't do. And guys like GP2 are problem solvers. If the other team has a guard you need to clamp for a quarter, GP2 can do the job. If the Warriors want a different look when screening for Steph, GP2 can do the job. And oh yeah, he can also hit some clutch shots as well.
Wiggins on the drive, low pass, 2 to shoot. Payton has to fire, and he buries it.
Now there are two other names that will determine whether the Dubs fall short or can get back to the top: Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. It's easy to look at what Klay did in the Lakers series and forget he was actually really good in the regular season, in particular helping keep the Warriors afloat when Steph got injured. In 20 games without Steph, Klay averaged 26, 5, and 3, and was more importantly a plus 57 in those 20 games. Don't get it wrong, he was flat out bad against the Lakers, but that's 6 games compared to an entire season where Klay made the most threes in the entire league, shooting 41% on over 10 attempts a game. His shooting still remains unmatched by anyone not named Steph and Dame. And I'm telling you, with the addition of CP3, the Dubs could stagger his minutes alongside the point guard and let Steph and Dre cook in the ways they usually do, maybe finally not being killed in the non-Steph minutes. And then there's Andrew Wiggins. Wiggs had an unfortunate year with some personal matters, but let's not forget Wiggs started the season in career best form. Throughout the first 22 games prior to injury, he was averaging 19 and 5 on 51% from the field and 45% from 3, whilst doing what he does defensively. If he can get back to consistently knocking down above 40% from 3, with the added playmaking that you have with CP3 alongside Steph and Dre, the Warriors can suddenly become a potent offense to go along with still having elite defensive talent. But that's not all. Let's just think about the year for a second. It feels like the Warriors had a season from hell. Locker room issues. I mean, Jordan Poole got knocked out by Draymond Green. Let's not forget that. But letting go of GP2 and losing Otto, the young guys not panning out in the way you thought, yet they were 2 games away from the Western Conference Finals. In Game 4 against the Lakers, if Lonnie Walker doesn't inexplicably go off, the Dubs very well could have won that series. And again, this was a season where practically everything went wrong. So the idea that they won't be championship contenders or towards the top again next year doesn't exactly make sense to me.